here's my thing on Hog. The thing is that, like, nerf and Hog, it's also, like, I have a feeling that if, like, say Protection Suzu was just nerfed or wasn't as good as it was, right? Then Hog probably wouldn't be as good. But, here's the thing. Here's my take on, like, Hog being in a lot of games. Well, two things with Roadhog being in a lot of games. One, I think Roadhog's going to be picked a lot no matter what, whether, like, Hog is good or bad. Doesn't mean Hog will be a must pick. Two about Hog is that the question is Hog fun to play against every single game? When you're playing Overwatch, when you go up against any tank, do you like going up against Roadhog every single game? It's like, more than likely, most people would probably be like, no, not really. So I hope that they kind of look at that, whether, like, regardless of, like, what they see, like, the win rate is, or, like, how Hog is doing across the board, and be like, well, maybe we should do a slight change for now, and we can reevaluate Hog in, like, a month or a month and a half, or, like, just not even that, like, even, like, sooner if Roadhog becomes unplayable. But it's becoming one of those things where I think it's so many more Hogs are in people's games now than before, and it's becoming, like, even if you play extremely well against a Hog, it also requires, like, all of your teammates to also play extremely well against a Hog. So let's say that you're, like, LOSing behind it, like, you're LOSing behind a wall, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm playing this correctly. But then you have your, you know, your Ana just standing in the middle of the open going, hello! You know what I mean? And good morning, everybody. Like, I think that's where it can be frustrating across the board, where Roadhog just kind of goes around the map, and, yeah. It's the same issue we had, like, last season with Zarya. It was, and a lot of people were like, hey, like, I'm enjoying playing right now, but going against Zarya every single game is not something we want to see. Can we please nerf Zarya? And then they nerfed Zarya, like, 6 weeks later because the patch glitched. Not glitched, they couldn't get the patch out in time, even though they wanted to get it sooner. So you had, like, 6 weeks of, like, Zarya just dominating rank games. Regardless of the win rate at that point, right? Zarya was just dominating rank games. Regardless, you were always going up against a Zarya, even if you were winning or losing. So, we're running into, I think it's starting to become that issue with, like, Roadhog and obviously Doomfist, but Hog is probably, like, a bit of a safer pick in the sense that, like, you can just... Yeah. You haven't gone against the Doomfist? Well, I think Doomfist is going to take time for players to get good at, but Roadhog has just one of those kits where you kind of can just... When I play Hog, I can start off with, like, a 12% hook accuracy and then still dominate the rest of the game. So, I don't know. I hope that, like, they are willing to take a bit of a more aggressive approach to balance, or, like, at least what it is when you go up, like, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it. Sometimes there's going to be there's always going to be, not always, but there's always going to be, well, I just said not always, I'm like, always, there's going to be tanks that are, like, or even heroes that are going to be S tier, right? It's going to happen. You can't, like, perfectly balance the game across the board. But what you can do is you can shift that balance fairly quickly if it feels like it's extremely unfun to play against. And I find that a lot of people are saying they don't enjoy going up against a Roadhog every game. Going up against a Roadhog 1 in every 5 games, that's fine. But when people are going up against Roadhog every single game now, and a lot of it is just, like, it turns into this, like, play style of Roadhog just runs at you and does whatever. Like, I think people are at the point now where they would prefer to see not Roadhog in every game, or as tanks feeling like you have to switch to Roadhog at some point. You get what I'm saying? Like, it feels like what happens now, you have this rotation as a tank where you just start as tank. Like, you start at any tank you want, right? You play whatever. And then, if the other tank ends up on Hog or is on Hog, you just end up on Hog at some point. Because what ends up happening is the Hog goes around and just gets the limbs on your teammates, and you don't have a lot of, like, the heroes don't have that, like, extreme one-shot capability. So, if they are even remotely paying attention and they keep those people up, Hog just hooks in and gets them, right? And then even if you make a play off of Hog, Kiriko cleanses Hog, and then you're just kind of like, well, I might as well go Hog at this point, and then you just play Hog. And Hog became meta last season too, towards, like, the end of the season. Like, Hog was meta the whole time. Also, we'll queue up now, chat. I'm gonna do my dailies, and then we'll figure out what we're doing. Right? Sound good? But I mean, I hopefully they're looking at that and be like, okay, like, we need to figure out what is having Hog be so meta. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of it is Kiriko too. Like, Kiriko can cleanse everything, but even then, Hog is just becoming, like, almost a must pick outside of Doomfist. But, like, it takes time to learn how to play Doomfist by, like, quite a bit. Like there's like a bit of a learning curve with Doom. With Roadhog, not so much. It's pretty much as simple as hook. If you miss your hook, just wait for your hook. Heal yourself. And then you get your ult on cooldown because you can heal so much. Now keep in mind, like I've been saying too, and this is something that I'll mention a few times when we're talking about like balance. There's gonna be tanks that are gonna be S tier, right? And there's gonna be tanks they have to nerf, and it's gonna happen consistently. But that's what like I think a lot of people are kind of hoping for, is that rather than kind of like sitting on metas or like extremely strong comps that are like almost not must plays, but you find that a lot of people are playing that hero, it's okay to shift the meta a little bit, because that also makes the games feel a bit different, rather than you log on for 6 weeks straight and play against the exact same team comp every single time, or there's always going to be like this hero in the game, right? Like for example, Sojourn's been pretty much on every team in GM Top 500 since they released Overwatch 2, right? Now they wanted to make Sojourn better for lower ranks, but then they also managed to kind of keep Sojourn the same in GM Top 500, and then you're going to see Sojourn dominating, especially with when Sojourn's damage boosted right now. It is something. It feels like you can't even, when you go up against a damage boosted Sojourn, because keep in mind they made the left click better, they nerfed the right click, but when Sojourn's damage boosted, obviously a lot of what they got rid of with that is going to be, you know what I mean? Like a lot of what they nerfed is going to be kind of back to what it was before. Also, do you like seeing Sully's feet right there? His little paws. Yeah, you just sleep in the chair? A little pause. Good boy.